Oh ho ho, baby. Welcome everyone to the UPBA post-draft power rankings. The UPBA is a Wi-Fi Pokemon draft league ran by Gravy. These PRs are hosted by Zangoose, and this video is sponsored by Tostino's Pizza Rolls. Is that right? Is that how you say that? So I'm just going to do a quick intro thing. If you're one of the coaches and want to skip to your spot, that's great. I don't mind that. Just I'm gonna give a little preface to like how I do my power rankings and all that. And I don't know. There's not too much going on here. It's just a standard current Galar Dex Wi-Fi league with 20 coaches in the draft, so it's a little spicy on who's able to get what. But basically, how I do PRs is I have 9 categories that I rank 1 through 10 for each team, and each category is kind of like weighted a little bit, and it gives you a score out of 100. But basically, I'll just go over the categories and kind of what I'm scoring on. I'm pretty sure you can hear my cat, but that's fine. So the first one is just speed tiers, not like the highest weighted category by any means, but basically the main obvious like ranking is, or scoring help is just having speed tiers every so often, base speeds that prevent your opponents from exploiting like big gaps. That's really all that is like, do you have at least a few mons like 100 plus? Do you have good gaps so that way like, oh, every base 100 that you play is going to be able to run like Adamant or Modest Scarf and outspeed your fast stuff but not get crept by anything below that, stuff like that. And also like something I basically started for this one is kind of like balancing how many special and physical attackers you have in, especially at least in your higher speeds, because that's obviously going to be your speedy offense. So if you just have like 4 physical attackers that are just like 120, 115, 110, 100, like those are good speed tiers, absolutely, to have. But if all 4 physical attackers, then like anything that gets up like a quiver dance, no, that's not right. I guess redo that metaphor, but for special attackers, anything that gives a quiver dance, like you're not gonna be able to hit it because it's now got boosted SPDF, and all your fast mons that could theoretically revenge it do less damage, stuff like that. It's not like you're gonna have like a 7, just because you have a lot of physical attackers that are fast, but it's not, you won't get a 10, I guess. Hazards is the next one. So obviously hazards is like strength of the mon that can place your hazards, and also variety of hazards. So obviously the bigger variety of hazards you have, you're able to set up toxic spikes, sticky web spikes is more robust than setting up stealth rocks. Pretty straightforward. The more you have and the better they are. Obviously if you're you have a stealth rocker, but it's like, I don't know, like Lycanroc Dusk, like it can run rocks for sure, but it's not going to reliably run them. Not as strong as per se like a Hippowdon, stuff like that. Removal is next. It's pretty straightforward. Removal is same thing as hazards. Variety of removal, which is basically just defog Rapid Spinner. Obviously having Rapid Spinner is a little bit stronger because you can set up your own hazards without removing them, but obviously Rapid Spin can be walled by ghost types. And obviously strength of defogger, so if your defogger is Mandy Buzz, that's a lot stronger than if your defogger is Tapu Koko. Typing, pretty straightforward, not a hugely weighted score. It's just diversity of the typings on your team. Do you have like the core types, which most people tend to draft? If you're missing a bug in a rock type, like you're not going to get hit. You're still going to get like a 9.5. Those are the only 2 scores you're missing. So typing is kind of a little bit useless. I was thinking about like incorporating how your typings actually like work together. Basically, like if, you have every type, but you actually like you're only fighting like immunity is your ghost type, because like you have like a fairy steel and like a flying rock, and you know what I mean, like poison ice, which isn't a type that exists, but you know what I mean. So, but I tend to incorporate that into defense a little bit, and maybe I shouldn't, because the typing score seems to be pretty useless unless there's just like one team that just like is missing like poison, fighting, and like dragon or something. You know, like types that like can get missed, but do not often get missed. And then there's offense and defense, and those are more your base stat. Well, offense is more base stat, like attack and special attackers, so things that could just hit hard. Obviously, I'll keep into account, stuff like Diggersby with huge power, or things like Nido King with sheer force or whatever. That where it's like they may only have base, 100 or lower offense, but they have like an automatic ability that'll boost their offense to make it stronger. Defense is obviously like your ability to recover, your bulk stats, stuff like wish passing and all that is sort of incorporated. That can also be a synergy thing, which is the last category. I'm just kind of going through here. And the last two categories are priority and scarfing, which seems like kind of a strange one, but basically priority and scarfers are your ability to stop setup yourself, because if you have a ton of bulk and something just gets up a sword stance and you can't revenge it, you know what I mean? Like that's bad. Same thing, even like Dragon Dancers, if you don't have like a good base, 100 plus scarf option or a good ice shard option, like a dragon type half the time can Dragon Dance and just beat you. So your ability to check setup is important, I believe, in a draft, and then also setup itself, your ability to break and force people to sack mons and stuff like that. Setups, I think, also pretty important. And then synergy is the last one. Synergy is kind of a weird category. It's just to cover all those different things. Like, do you have like Veil and good setup mons? Do you have obviously good like sand or weather synergy? Do you have a ton of momentum and screens and it's just stuff like that? And also to like kind of knock teams that like have bad synergy, where it's like it's a good team on paper, but like none of my categories really like account for like, oh, you have like Necrozma and Alola Ninetales, and Necrozma, like it's it likes to run Morning Sun decently often, and it can't run that in Hail. So like stuff like that where you can lose points for having anti synergy, even though like you wouldn't realize that until you're gone. And basically what doing these scores does, it kind of measures. It doesn't measure like how balanced a team is, because I'll probably show the table at the end. But the overall scores tend to go kind of above 80, because obviously like it's pretty easy to draft like a decent team, right? Like no one's drafting like memes in a Wi-Fi league so far, at least. So it's like you're gonna be able to get a stat like 8+ as long as you have a couple rockers, or a couple decent rockers, or a few removers, or just like typing. Everyone's getting not like 9+ for the most part. There's a few teams that don't, so it's less about being well-rounded, because if you have 8s across the board, you're just gonna you're gonna be 80, you're gonna be in like 16th, and that's because like being like that well-rounded where nothing stands out. Like if I'm giving you an 8 on every stat, like, or every score, and then you face a team with like a 9 defense, like how are you gonna break them? Like your setup and your offense isn't like, maybe might not be good enough. For the same thing, if your defense is only 8 and you face a team with a 9 offense, like they're gonna break through you pretty easy. So it's like being average in every single stat. Like if every matchup, a team is most likely gonna have at least one thing better than you that could give them the advantage, in the matchup, and it would make building really tricky. It wouldn't necessarily make your team bad, but this is more about like robustness of your team. So the opposite of that scenario is if you face a team with good defense, you have good enough offense where you can break them. But then the next, like, if all you have is good offense, then the next week you face another team with good offense and slightly better defense. If you have an advantage in one category, like that's not going to carry you every week. Teams are obviously going to have a variety of strengths and weaknesses. So the more strengths you can pull from, the more variety of hazards you can pull. A team that's weak to spikes or toxic spikes that you have access to. A team like speed tiers are going to matter every week, because if you can make prepping either easier or give you a slight advantage if you have stronger speed tiers. Some weeks your crazy offense isn't going to be that important, but if you have good enough bulk that you can bring your 3 big bulky core that they can't break. And the next week you just run over them with your offense and your setup. So you know what I mean? Like So it's more about like robustness, I would say, than well-roundedness. When I'm trying to, rate these teams. So obviously, a team that only has like good offense and speed tiers can still do amazing if the synergy is there. And even teams with good bulk, they're able to just break through, and then teams with like also good offense, they're able to keep momentum up and build correctly. So obviously, this isn't a measure of how well your team will do. Obviously, like coaches have their different strengths and weaknesses. I totally ignore coach skill when doing these, partly because I won't know every coach in the league, and partly because like it kind of defeats the purpose of post draft power rankings. It's just about the draft, right? Because like you could have one team go like even, and then you could have that same team go undefeated depending on who the coach is and how the matchups go. And obviously, like I don't consider matchups in this either. I would like love to do a PRs where I just look at matchups and say like, this team has like 7 out of 10 matchups I like, so it gets a 7-3 record, and like that's how I do PRs. But I'm not gonna do that with this league. Obviously, it's a little more like important. That's more of a meme PRs. And I'm losing the plot here. It's early. I'm just doing an intro. I have no idea. I'm gonna have to do so much editing to make this work, but it's all for you guys. So I'm just gonna go straight into the last place team. I'm not just gonna go down the categories I listed and just say what their score is and why. That's a little less fun. I'll just point out the main strengths and weaknesses of the team, and probably just like their overall score, and then I'll do some graphics or something. I don't know. Post editing. Oh baby, I'm just recording audio right now. I'm gonna have to put in all the visuals afterwards, but a lot of the visuals would just be still images of the draft. So in 20th place out of 20 is going to be the Vancouver Lycanux, coached by Slightly Salty. And this team has it's a team. It's definitely not like bad. I would never go that far. Maybe I would. I don't know. I don't want to roast, but just like the number one red flag of this team is the only stealth rocker is Tyrantrum, and Tyrantrum's not even gonna want to come every week at all. Like there are just teams where they have a good ground type and a good fairy type that you're just not able to like do anything about. Even like a good fighting type. What you're gonna do to like a Buzzwole or something, you know what I mean? Just like stuff like that. It's not. I put a little bit less like importance on hazards. Even I don't set up hazards a lot. I'll have a lot of hazards on my team just because you draft how you draft. But like I don't click hazards a lot. I mean, even if I bring them, I don't necessarily click them. I just kind of like, whether it's right or wrong, I kind of prioritize in the moment damage. But just only having stealth rock, like it's very bad. If there's a team that's weak to rock, then you have to like, because here's the thing is like if a team is weak to stealth rocks, it's also just weak to rock type attacks. So on a team like this, you have Tyrantrum, and then nothing else. Like, does Doublade get like Rock Slide or something? Like, you don't even have other rock type attacks. So like a team that is weak to rocks, that could be bad for the team. It's not gonna do much. There's another thing. There's a ton of anti synergy with terrain on this team. There's no seed users. There's no mons that kind of don't like priority. I mean, like one of the main mons that don't like priority are Crobat and Thunderous don't like Ice Shard, but they're still going to be able to get hit by Ice Shard under under terrain because they're flying types. And then you have Meowstic and Doublade, a good Shadow Sneaker and a good Prankster like Thunder Waver that aren't going to be able to use terrain, and you just have a ton of psychic neutral mons. Like you have like Lele and Meowstic and Doublade all resist psychic, but Doublade has like no special defense even with the Violite. So like a psychic type against this team is just gonna spam psychic moves. Like you don't have a dark type. It's a very strange team in that way. The removal is fine. You have like Crobat, Cryogonal, Thunderous, Volcanion. I learned that Cryogonal gets Defog, which is very strange. I've only ever seen it run Rapid Spin, but I don't know. Maybe you're facing a Frost Blast and you want to run Defog. Who knows? But it's decent removal. This is the lowest typing score in the league because, like I said, they're missing that psychic type. Oh, sorry, Jesus. They're missing that dark type. I don't remember what else they're missing. They're missing like a couple like major, quote unquote major type ratings. There's no fire type. There's no, I don't know. I mean, like they're missing like the small ones. Like, oh, there's no bug type. Look out! But I don't really care about missing a bug type that much. I mean, but at the same time, like this team is going to struggle with psychics, whether they're offensive or bulky. Like you have Doublade and it can't shadow sneak half the time because Lele's there. Offense is obviously awesome on this team. So you have Lele, Thunderous, Volcanion, huge special attackers. You have Scuda. It's not like everyone's favorite mon. It has a strong physical attack. You have Tyrantrum, strong physical attack. Doublade. Like you have a very even spread of physical and special attackers that can definitely do damage on their own. The defense on this team is very. It's I guess it's not like horrible, honestly. You have Tangrowth in P2, which is a pretty gross core to break. You know, you run Fizzit up, Tangrowth, Spit up, 4-on-2. There's not a lot of mons without setup that are going to be able to break those. Like fighting, flying is obviously like this team wouldn't be scared of Lucha, but they have Doublade, you know, good evaluate user. You have Cryogonal for extra bulk. You have Meowstic with screens. So the defense is okay, but you only, I don't know. I mean, you have recovery with Crobat and Cryogonal. But, I mean, you're going to be relying, like, Porygon 2 Tangrowth are coming to most games, just as a core, and then if Doublade or Cryogonal have a decent matchup, or Bulky Crobat has a decent matchup, it's coming. Priority Scarfers, I'm doing the thing that I said I wasn't going to do, just go down, like, the scores, but, Priority Scarfers, like, Priority kind of sucks, so, like, you can't really use it on this team, but at the same time, it's like, that your other teams can't use Priority against DU, so it kind of balances out a little bit, but not really. But decent scarfing options, obviously Lele, Thunderous, Volcanion can all scarf. Tyrantrum's a decent scarf user. It's not like terrible, it's not great. But obviously, like the synergy score on this team is just low. You have no dark resist because you're missing a fighting type. So like you have like what 1, 2. I mean, only 2 dark weaknesses, but no dark resists. No dark type itself. No fighting type. Like this team's gonna have trouble breaking because you're just missing coverages. Like you're gonna be relying on Focus Blast so much. I don't think did Tyrantrum get close combat this gen? Maybe. Like that's kind of helpful. Like I feel like Tyrantrum's like the linchpin of this team for no reason. like I guess you can run like Screens and Meowstic and try to like Dragon Dance and stuff like that. Like I mean it could totally work, but it seems it's just lacking a lot of the like a handful of things that like you can draft. Like sometimes you're missing, like you draft your first 4 rounds and then the way everything else goes, like you're just not able to fill out your speed tiers as much, or you're just missing a breaker. But this team's missing stuff that you should be able to control, like having, you know, typings that prevent you from being super weak to 1 or 2 types, and drafting, I mean hazards is 50-50. I mean, you have Barraskewda without, like you have like Pseudo Rain here too, so you have like Skewda, Volcanion, like Thundy with like could run Thunder. I don't know. It's a bizarre team. I think it could do okay, but it's just this team is like the overall score is 73.75. That's just how the numbers came out. But that is the lowest score by over 5 points. So like it's definitely like I don't know anything about Slightly Salty. You know, he could be a great coach. He could be new. Who knows? But I think this team is looks very difficult to use, and it's going to leave a lot wanting in team building. But we can always see how it works in practice. So next up in 19th place is I'm waiting for like the thing. It's a Portland Timbers, coached by Truxus. Do I know? I feel like I know them. I feel like I should know them. So this team, let's see, we got some, you got some moves right away. You see Necrozma, Urshifu, Raikou, Snorlax. I think the 3 of the first 4 being like monotype mons isn't necessarily bad, but like you're gonna end up like filling a lot of holes with probably subpar mons. Like I probably overvalue dual types more than the average person. Obviously, if they don't work, if you're removing if you're removing weak like resistances in one type with the other. Kind of like a lot of the times when you have like a grass poison is a good type, but you lose that like ground resist in grass, which can be like, you know, a pretty big deal for teams that tend to be weak to ground. Um, so you just kind of tell right away that like with these monotypes, you're gonna have some like probably questionable dual types later on, maybe. But now you just see more monotypes. But it's got some zest to it. Kadabra and Magmar are obviously budget picks. You do already have a psychic type with Necrozma, so I'm not 100% sure what Kadabra is doing there besides filling out a speed tier. Magmar is honestly just like it's actually a decent mon. Still is like 93 speed isn't amazing. But this team is you just look at it and you go like, you kind of imagine yourself like, oh, I'm playing this team next week. I have to build against it, and then you look at it and you go like, as long as like Necrozma can't sweep me, like I'm not scared of this team. It's just like it's missing something. I don't really know what that is. But it's got okay speed tiers. Nothing crazy bad. You have Rubambi, Raikou, Zoroark. One of the issues I try to point out, like all the fast mons are special attackers. I think this team is just extremely specially oriented in the first place. I mean, yeah, you do have Copper. Lax can hit hard, or Shifu hits hard. So you have like good base stats, but all your speedy mons are special. So like I said, I mean, you have Rubambi to Quiver Dance yourself, but Quiver Dancers, Calm Minders could be huge issues for this team. If they're able to set up for this team, get set up itself. Oh, and then here's the huge. You may be looking at this team. Maybe you noticed this already. The only removal is Defog Rubambi, and that is not a move that Rubambi often wants to run. In this gen, Rubambi is running Boots decently often, so it can run Boots Defog. But it really, sometimes it wants to Quiver Dance and run coverage. Sometimes it wants to run Sticky Web and U-turn, and like basically being near forced to run Defog on Rubambi, or just to run a lot of Boots on mons that like don't want to run Boots, like Raikou or Shifu Neck. They're not going to want to really run Boots, but if you're running, like, if you're facing Sticky Web and Stealth Rocks, like, they're going to get chipped down. It's not amazing. It's like the team's like very weak to spikes because they're missing a flying type. So like, how are you going to be this weak to spikes and not have decent removal? Like your entire team's grounded, and your entire team's weak to ground. Like It's a very, very similar issues to the first team. The Hazards itself are a lot better. You have Rune with T-Spikes. You have a couple of decent Stealth Rockers. You have Roserade with T-Spikes. Bombi with Webs. So you have very, very robust Hazards on this team, but no removal yourself. So I guess the idea is like either force your opponent to defog or hope your Hazard stack beats your opponent's Hazard stack. It's not an amazing like strategy, I don't think. But yeah, this team just like, I don't know, this is just a team where I would be totally fine building against it. You run one good Scarfer, one good setup mon, and outspeed everything. As long as you're able to like break Lax, and I guess Lax and Rune are a decent combo, because Lax with good special defense is gonna resist Ice theoretically with Thick Fat and Ghost, and then Renarius for the fighting immunity. That's like that's a pretty decent combo. The problem is neither of those mons have direct recovery. Like Lax is gonna run rest and stuff, so like if you're getting chipped down, if you're getting knocked off, this is another team that doesn't like I mean, Urshifu handles knockoffs pretty well, but the rest of the team, like Rubambi, doesn't want to take physical knockoffs. Zoroark taking a knockoff means it's revealed, stuff like that. So it's another like dark weak team, just because the fairy isn't bulky. But maybe Urshifu will shine on this team. A lot of setup on this team. You have Necrozma with all the setup in the game, basically. You have Bulk Up Urshifu, you have Calm Mind Raikou, Curse Lax, Quiver Dance Rubambi, like Dragon Dance Drago, Nasty Plot Zoroark. Like you have like a ton of setup on this team. So the fact that you don't have a lot of bulker hazards, maybe like while your opponent's setting up hazards, you're setting up and then you just sweep them. I've definitely seen that happen where you're just like your opponent's like, oh, they're cooking non-attacking moves. I can get Sticky Webs up, and then the mon that's setting up just like gets like 3 kills, and it doesn't matter if that webs are up. So this team is like, I think it's like very, very high and very lows on this team. Like defense and removal are just like rock bottom, and then everything else is kind of solid. So that's kind of why like all these scores are going to be similar. Like you have besides the last place team, sorry Vancouver, but you have like a 7 point, less than a 7 point like percentage difference. So this team got a 78.95 on my arbitrary scoring. So like the highest team is 85.5. So like 7 points isn't like crazy, you know. That's less than a point in every category. And this team has plenty of 9s, a couple of 9.5s. Like I set up in hazards 9.5s because it's got a ton of them, and you know, diversity of it. So like this team has a lot of setup, decent offense. Like it can definitely like break through a team before they have any chance to break this team back, or you know, or just like get their hazard stack up to take advantage of the removal. So this team can totally do fine. It's just got holes that can be exploited. It's just not a sure thing. But whatever. This is gonna be the longest video of my life. In 18th place is the Atlanta Braviaries. I guess I typed it wrong on my sheet, but it should be right in graphics. Atlanta Braviaries, coached by Scythe. So this team's actually very similar to Vancouver's team, in that you have, hey, like Ndidi, okay, Psychic Terrain, Halucha. Hey, there's some synergy there, okay, and like Mr. Mime, it could be interesting. Crystal again, it's all there. Wait a second, this team has Aegislash. Like that doesn't make sense. One of the best like Shadow Sneakers in the game, you're gonna be completely nerfed by Ndidi, and then you have Mr. Rhyme. You don't have a Psychic type to take advantage of terrain. Obviously Ndidi does, but Ndidi is a little bit lackluster of a mon in and of itself. I've seen this mon get killed by like killed with like knockoff through Colbur. Like doesn't even make sense. Just O code. So yeah, the Atlanta, this team, I think the biggest issues it's facing right now, its speed tiers are a little weird. It's just Halucha for speed and Halucha doubling its speed and terrain. Other than that, you're running Scarf Darmanitan or Scarf Nidoking every week. Like Darmanitan and Ndidi kind of overlap. Like this is a very tight. The Nidoking, Darmanitan, and Ndidi are very tight. You know, speed tier range from Pico 2, just right up there. Ignore that long run off for a second. And yeah, just so it's like the synergy obviously with Halucha is nice. I like Halucha. I think it's a good mon. I think people think it's like overrated because of how like it's a one trick mon. You can run like a banded Halucha every once in a while. You can run Mold Breaker Halucha, like KO a Mimikyu through its disguise. I think that works. I don't remember. But you know, stuff like that can be quite nice. Yeah, I don't know. I'm losing steam here. We have to definitely split this up. But hazards and removal are both kind of lackluster on this team. You have Crustle and Nidoking as the two hazard runners. I mean, Nidoking is not bad hazards. Obviously, it's a very threatening offensive mon. It can scare things out and get hazards up for free. Crustle, it's nice this gen with like Boots Sturdy. You know, I feel like suicide leads have never been a thing in draft, unless the matchup specifically calls for it. Like if you're playing the Rabambi team with this team, you can run like suicide setup Crustle and get those spikes up. It's like the most spikes weak team I've ever seen. But I don't know. Removal also pretty bad. Rhyme and Morpeko for Rapid Spin and Halucha for Defog. I ran a team with Halucha as the best removal, and it sucked, and I had to get like Rotom, Fan, I think, and something else. Like I definitely had to make trades to get more removal, because like webs get up, and what do you do? Like you know, obviously Halucha doesn't care about webs that much, but stuff like that. It's just very very lackluster. Hazards and removal, speed tiers are a little bit weird, and another. I mean, it's pretty common. There's good bulk in this gen, but there's not. Nobody really wants to draft a lot of bulk, especially in Wi-Fi. It's not a good strategy with timer, even with fixed timer. Whatever, like not fully fixed, obviously. Whatever land timer. So you're not gonna run into people drafting a ton of bulk in like stall, because like no one wants to watch a 5-4 battle like go to timer. It's just not great. So like I tell you, like a lot of the defense scores are lower in this, and that's honestly totally fine. I'm not gonna knock people for not wanting to install on Wi-Fi for both entertainment value and practicality reasons. But yeah, another team with like kind of low defense, like Vaporeon and Guja is a pretty nice combo. Obviously, Guja are going to resist electric and grass. Vaporeon going to resist ice. Alchemy is a bit of a meh fairy, at least in my um, experience. Like I think another like, a dragon with like dragon ground basically just runs through this team after like a dragon dance, and there's a few of those that'll do that. So it's a little bit spooky. I mean, Halucha can rely on terrain to revenge, but you know, it's I don't know. Team's got obviously all the types it needs. Pretty decent offense. Again, you have AD that can attack on either side. Nidoking, Darm, and DD even with like the terrain boost. You have a lot of good offense on here, but it's a little bit. I don't know. I feel like if you combine, no, I don't even know. I feel like kind of if you combine this team with Vancouver, you could have like a decent like terrain-based team, and just drop both Aegislash and Doublade and find something else to do with those points. I don't really know. Like I feel like it's funny that there's Aegislash and Doublade on both the terrain teams when those mons very much like to run. You know, they don't have to run a Shadow Sink, but they very much like to run them. So you're gonna run into issues there just with the anti-synergy score again. Yeah, decent setup and Scarfer options. So another team is just a little bit lackluster, nothing amazing. And I'm gonna probably bring it up, but another team where it's like, yeah, Halucha is decent for dark types, but it's kind of like Halucha is supposed to come in once if it's a train sweeper. So like, and you're not gonna bring it in outside of train and get knocked off of your seed. That's like useless, kind of. But another team was like just Alchemy, which isn't 65 HP, 75 defense, not super physically bulky. More Peko, 58, not super bulky. You're not gonna run knockoff against this team. There's just a lot of teams with like huge knockoff weaknesses. You're gonna run into that without like megas and without I don't know, without as robust of a roster with the decks. So that's the first three, and we'll just move on to the next in 18, which is the Charlotte Chandelures, coached by Shadow Stitch. I need to figure out what I'm doing with this video because it's a drag. Hopefully the first like 3 people didn't mind their PR so far, but it's not amazing by any means. So Charlotte Chandelures, coached by Shadow Stitch. This team, it's good. I mean, like, I don't know. I've been focusing kind of on like I've been trying to, I think, justify why like the low teams are low. I've pointed out some decent things, but this team it's got some good stuff going on for it. So the first thing I'll say is Victini in Sun is scary. Venusaur in Sun, very good. Slowking, I don't hate. It's really, Sun teams are really tough to pick out a water type because you have to pick a water type that like won't like hate having its stab weakened potentially if it has to. And Slowking usually like a water type with active recovery, or even I guess something like Suicune that runs protect a lot. Those are ones that'll do well because like if you need to like stall out your own Sun so you can actually like scald shit, or if you're just running Scald to get burns, that's totally fine. So some of the bigger issues with this team are hazards and removal. So basically you have Rhyperior and Torkoal just for rocks, which 2 good rockers, and then you have Braviary and Torkoal. Braviary not a good defogger, Torkoal an okay Rabbit Spinner. So like Torkoal like is coming to every game almost, even if you don't want to run Sun. Even if if there's for whatever reason a matchup where you don't want to run Sun, you have to run like White Smoke Torkoal or something, because it's your main removal. And on a Sun team where you have Torkoal and you have Victini, like yeah, like and Weavile, like yeah, it's like you can just run Boots on all those guys. But like if you want to run Band, and I mean Braviary, like you have quite a bit of rock weakness here. So even, you know, if your opponent doesn't have rocks, if they have rock type moves, like they're gonna kind of run through you. At least Buzzwole, I mean, it doesn't resist rock, but it's nice for that. I mean, in Rhyperior, yeah, sure, but like rock and ground just blows through this team. Besides Buzzwole, so Buzzwole's coming to a lot of matchups, which it doesn't necessarily want to. And then the speed tiers, I mean, we have Weavile and Victini, and that's it above 100. I mean, that's not like horrible. You have Venusaur in the Sun, but It's still big gaps. I think you have a big gap between everything else too. Like you have Victini to Braviary is base 80. I think Venusaur is also base 80. So you have a lot, and Buzzwole is base 79. So you have two big speed gaps. And even in Sun, like you're gonna be running into issues here. So like I don't know. So I feel like something like a Mamoswine, just like I mean you have Slowpoke and Buzzwole. Like I said, I don't think this team is terrible. It's a Sun team. Like weather teams are gonna tend to miss some gaps just because you're more reliant on your synergy. And like I said, like this is just how robust your team is. So I mean, obviously, if you have a lot of good Sun matchups and you're just able to like run through and Venusaur's cleaning up, nothing they don't have switch-ins for Victini. If Torkoal could somehow have momentum, like some teams would be so much better. But it's okay. So I don't think this team is bad. It's just like it's one of the things where it's like because of the way I rate on PRs, it just got a lower score. I think this team like I would this is a team I don't want to prep for sure. Like those are like the two things is like is this team actually good and would you actually want to play this team? And I would not want to play this team. So Shadow Stitch actually did a pretty good job drafting here. I think like I said, a few holes in the team, but like it's one of those things where like well if the synergy works like the holes don't matter. So we'll see how those matchups actually pan out. I don't know why I record my living room when I have 3 animals just running around. Okay. Next up is, I believe, the first admin. So this will be scary. Hopefully you guys aren't skipping through too hard. So lowest admin at 16 is Galadite and the Calgary Flamethrowers. I had to do it to him. I couldn't escape my wrath. So what is this team doing? So, oh, it's a rain team. Okay, so like I'm roasting the weather teams, kind of. I think. I don't think all the weather teams are as low down, but so what did I not like about this team? Okay, so here's the other thing about weather teams is that their speed tiers tend to hurt because of relying on like Swift Swim and stuff. But this is also, in this case, it's a fake rain team because you have like Dracovish, similar to Victini on the Sun team, just to boost water moves. You have Ferrothorn to reduce fire type hits. You have, I guess, Thundurus to run Thunder because it doesn't Hurricane. I mean, you have Toxicroak to get lefties. This team is weird. I don't think Galadite is gonna like deny that. I think he actually kind of just drafts a little bit weird and just plays and builds really well, which is kind of like I can relate to that. I'm more draft okay, build really well, and play okay, so like it's not quite the same. But speed tiers are obviously an issue. You have Alakazam and Thundy as your above base 100s, which is okay, but they're both special attackers. So if you need speed and something fast and calm minding, it's like well you're going to be reliant on like Scarf Dracovish to kill it, or just hope that Thundurus or Alakazam have like a good type matchup. They can hit it through Calm Mind. I mean, you do have Sight Shock on Alakazam. You have like Prankster, like Thunderwave and stuff on Thundy, so it's not like terrible. Like I said, speed tiers aren't the be all end all by any means. Removal, kind of bad. I know, like you see, like you know what? I probably should have given you. I don't know. I don't know if I should have given you a higher removal score. So like Thundy is like Prankster Defog is nice. You're not gonna really want to run it unless like you have a free move slot. But usually you want to be running like Nasty Plot or T-Wave or something, but priority defog isn't terrible. Pelipper is tough. Pelipper doesn't mind running defog, but usually wants like dual stab U-turn Roost or whatever, what have you. It's gonna want to run Rain Rock. It's probably not gonna want to run Rain Rock as much. What's that called? Damp Rock. As much on this team because you're not relying on a Swift Swim sweeper, which I guess is actually like kind of nice to like not have to worry about. So like Pelipper can just run Boots and just be like Pelipper, because Pelipper is actually kind of a threat on its own. On rain teams, like you have to like it's 50-50 because usually against a rain team you're already prepping for like a water-based sweeper, like I guess like Mega Swampert to Napdex or like Kingdra or I don't know what have you. Like the water, there's a lot more water-based Swift Swimmers. So you're already kind of building for a water type. So like Pelipper kind of like isn't gonna like hit a huge matchup, but generally stuff like electric types aren't gonna necessarily actually handle water types if they don't have a secondary type, because this is neutral attacks, and in rain that can do a lot. So I don't know. I think Gallaudet is actually gonna get a lot of kills with Pelipper, because I think like people are gonna be like, it's not a rain dance, or it's not like rain sweeper team. I don't have to like I'm not gonna worry about Pelipper, because you already don't worry about Pelipper. You worry about Kingdra or whatever. And then Colossal with Rapid Spin is like fine removal, but Colossal in a pseudo rain team isn't gonna want to come very often. But it is a decent. It can run. It's usually just running like rocks and or spikes, rapid spin, dual stab, maybe like Willis in there. It's got room for rapid spin. Some mons like it's like Excadrill, like it can run rapid spin now because it gets the speed boost, but it used to really not be able to want to run it because you just want Swords Dance and coverage. But some teams only you only need Steel and Ground for. So I don't know, decent team overall, a very good offense. Just like a lot of, this is like one of those teams where it's like it's actually just a pretty average team. In terms of my scoring system, so like I think he'll be fine. I just think I think he'll run into a lot of weird matchups with this. Like I think this team is mostly around building for Vish to kill things, because you have Grimmsnarl, and then like Thundy and Alakazam like can set up behind screens. Poltergeist behind screens is a little spooky. You gotta watch out for this guy. He's gonna get you. He's gonna spook you. No, it's Spiel. He wins. Oh no, Spiel was there the whole time. The roundest man, the littlest boy. I can see his little sprite. I mean, I'm like referencing like the website, obviously, to talk about the teams. The roundest man. I'm sorry, I failed you, Gallaudet. All right, whatever, fuck it. Next up in 15th is Honorary Mod. Trogaholic. Trogdor and the New York Yampers. Appreciate the logo. I don't know what the visuals are gonna be like for this, because I'm literally just recording audio. So this is actually like spooky team, but it's like you gotta use it team. I don't know. It's got stuff going for it. Another it's Galar decks. Like no one's gonna have. Well, like only a few people are gonna have like amazing speed tiers. So like by default, the speed tiers on this team are a little bit wonky. You have Tauros and Regieleki above 100, and then you have Urshifu, which is like an honorary base 100, but like in practice, obviously like if you're playing the Scarf base 100, it outspeeds. At least has Sucker Punch. Stuff like that. So like I don't know. He doesn't even have pseudo Trick Room, because just Slowking Galar is there. But I don't know. It's weird. So yeah, I don't know. This team's just iffy. I mean, he's got okay hazards, decent removal. Corviknight I think is a good remover. I think the problem is like you compare Corviknight to Skarmory every time, and Skarmory doesn't get doesn't get U-turn. My brain. But Corviknight does get U-turn, which makes it basically way better, and obviously it's more balanced, especially and physically defensive. But it obviously does get like spikes or toxic. And does Corviknight get Whirlwind? I'm not even sure it gets Whirlwind. But like, so Skarmory has a little bit more like tech to it, whereas Corviknight is just going to be giving you that momentum and stalling guys, but without stalling them with toxic. So it's like you tend to run like dual stab, roost, U-turn on Corviknight, so like having to get rid of one of those moves for defog is a little bit tough. So that's why like his removal is amazing. And then Regieleki for Rapid Spin is nice, but obviously every ground type in the game, the wall is Regieleki, unless you're normal gem explosion for the most part. I think normal gens and they haven't had any other. They only ever have normal gem anymore after Gen 6, which I hate because the gems are awesome items. I guess they felt like they didn't need them with the Z moves, but then they got rid of Z moves. So then it's like, oh well, DMAX still boosts. Like you have a really strong Dynamax Grass Town. I don't remember like any of the names of the Dynamax moves, but like so like I don't think they wanted to boost. Like the moves are still getting boosted, so they don't need items to boost the moves, because that's just like confusing. Which like I get, but I hate. And then obviously like Dredagon rocks, Shuckle rocks and webs. Shuckle doesn't want to come to games, but if it can, it will. And then Swampert with rocks. So like solid hazards, but they're all rocks. So like it caps the score. And Thwackey has very good Well, here's the thing: is you have Slow King, Regieleki, and Chandelure weak to ground. But then you have like Thwacky as your grass setter, and Thwacky's good, but like, it can't come to every game, so it's like you can't really rely on that synergy as much as you would like to. Does Trog have a Steel type? Oh, I'm scrolling. I'm so dumb. I was scrolling through like the page and not his roster, so I lost Corviknight in the fog. So like, Corviknight handles ground types pretty well. And that's the other thing is like with Regieleki, everyone's like, oh, well, if you draft Regieleki, you kind of need to build around it, which means you need to have like good grass and waters to handle ground types. So he does have two water types, Azumarill and Swampert. It's kind of nice. Azumarill can run a grass immunity, so it's not like you're doubling up on weaknesses too bad. Yeah, that's about it. Team has decent priority with Azumarill and like Sucker Punch Strudigon and Sucker Punch Urshifu and Grassy Glide Thwacky and like Tauros can run Scarf. Obviously, Urshifu is a very good Scarfer. Chandler is a very good Scarfer. So he's definitely got like options to like handle like people trying to set up on him. If you're trying to set up on Shuckle, there's a chance you can revenge. I really like Tauros. I love Thwacky and Slowking Galara. I have that in my own little Surge tournament. It's not mine, but it's about to be mine when I win it, baby. I don't know. I think Chaga is a very like decent team. I think it's like it's just got a couple of like holes that you just can't fill every hole in Galardux unless you get very like good first few picks. So I think this team is scary. It's another team where it's like it's lower on there. It's 15th, but I would not want to build against this team really. And Urshifu is probably just going to carry him as long as he doesn't sack it turn one, as we like to say. So whatever. Good job, Trog. Low rank draft, but it's like it doesn't. It's literally because I just go by my scores. Like literally, like I can see a draft and I go like I don't really like this draft, and then I'll score it and it'll be in like the top 5, and I'm just like I'm not gonna like intentionally lower scores because I don't like the team. Like if you know, it's like my own personal like glancing at a team. I would be totally fine using this team. If you know if someone just gave me this team and said hey use it, I'd be like okay, whatever. So next up, above Trog in 14th is the Los Angeles Aegislash Lieutenant Gold. Definitely haven't like played with Lieutenant Gold, but I've seen him around in a lot of different Wi-Fi leagues. Definitely like I think building his presence. But this is another team very similar to Trog's team, where I think it's just like it's well rounded, but it's not deeply well-rounded, so it doesn't quite get like a high enough score to bring it all the way to the top. It's probably just I don't know what it's missing. But like I just scroll through this team and I go like, oh no, okay, never mind. I was gonna say Urshifu like single 6-0 zip, but you have Coco to take a hit if you need to, and Heracross kind of works as an Urshifu check a little bit. It does get aggro, which is nice. It's like there's some weird, I don't know. There's kind of some weird like Urshifu set where you run like Electric Seed, Acrobatics. I don't even know if he plays Trog. And I'm just thinking of Urshifu because I just saw it. But he's got a well-rounded team here. Again, very similar to Trog's team, I think. Not like in terms of like literally, just like in how the scores work out. So he's got decent utility for hazards. I mean, Seismitoad, good rocker. Bronzong, good rocker. Blissey, decent rocker. Aurorus, never coming. Heracross gets spikes. You'll run into situations where you can run it. And then his defoggers are kind of weird because he has Charizard. It's gonna run Boots, but it doesn't really want to run Defog. Salamence, it can. Even if it's like defensive, it's gonna want to run like Roost and Toxic. It can run Defog. Tabacoco, same thing. I mean, it can run Defog. It doesn't have the fake busted coverage anymore. And then Dumb Eyes with Rapid Spin is decent. So I probably could have given this guy more removal score than I did. So like, if you want to complain about your scores, like it's fine. Raising like scores half points probably gets you like 1 or 2 spots because of how close the scores can be. But one weird thing about this team is that it has you're missing like some synergies. I know like Seismitoad isn't necessarily supposed to go on a rain team, just because it gets Swift Swim. It's not like it's not the major rain sweeper. It's a better rain sweeper in low tier. And then you have like Aurora's Arctozolt, and like Aurora's is fun. It's a cool mon against Veil, but it is the worst hail setter. It's definitely you cannot you can obviously, like, objectively, you can argue with me that Aurorus is better than a Boma's Note. I don't think it is. Just, I mean, they're both just weak to everything, but Aurorus is kind of screwed by steel types. At least, I mean, a Boma's Note gets Earthquake. They're both bad, obviously. I don't know, but it's also like a pseudo like Trick Room team, kind of. I mean, you have Mats, Coco, Raichu. I mean, Raichu, Charizard. The higher up speed tiers aren't terrible. But then you just have like Delmise, Bronzong all the way at the bottom, Heracross in between. I mean, Blissey. I don't know. It's Blissey. I don't know how Blissey is in Wi-Fi. I mean, obviously it kind of like stalls out Mons, but like on its own, it's not necessarily going to stall it. You have to pair it with like a really good physical wall that can take like fighting type moves, which, like I said, this team is kind of missing. I mean, you have Ghost type Delmise, which is, fine. It's going to get knocked off. You're going to have to run Colbert a lot. I mean, you do have Hera and Coco. They're not like taking fighting moves. Raichu, they're not taking fighting moves. Like, all your fighting resists are offensive for the most part. So it's got a kind of a weird like anti-Blissey synergy going on. Because like you have two psychic types. Your defensive one is neutral to fighting. Yada yada yada. Your fairy type is offensive, which is okay. I mean, Coco has so much speed; it can be pretty bulky. It's a legendary, so it has okay bulk stats by default. Seems also, I guess, I have this team's missing priority and scarfing. I think its scarfers are okay. It's basically got no priority. No viable priority. Maybe I'm dumb and missing something. I'm gonna use the website real quick to like double check. No, there. I mean, Raichu has like a bunch of physical priority, doesn't count. Heracross has feint. Charizard has quick attack. Tapu has quick attack. This team has no priority, which you don't necessarily need. It's not like a be all end all. If you can scarf and prevent speed setup, or you have enough bulk that if something runs agility, like it's not just gonna sweep you, but it's just something that's nice to have. Just a decent sucker puncher or stab quick attack, anything like that. Sadly, Obstagoon does not get sucker punch, even though it should. Weird. It's a very like decent, well-rounded team. I think you have like double synergy. You have nice like you have like a little bit of hail synergy. Obviously, Archresult. Archresult's very good, but like you're almost wasting a slot bringing Aurorus. And then Raichu is very decent, but Coco's already good. I don't know. I think it seems fine. It's got a couple of just like slight things that are keeping it from being really good. That's all I'm willing to even say about this. I'm running out of steam so quick when I record these. It's so long too. So up next above Lieutenant Gold in 13th is the Ann Arbor Excelgors, coached by worst Jesse, good Jesse, best Jesse. I don't remember which the meme is. I think it's better Jesse because mid sucks. So here we've got some good picks to start with. Latios Rillaboom, a nice combo. Do you know? A little bit like, I guess Latios gets Mystical Fire now. I'm not too worried about steel types yet. You got Scizor, Greymon, no Hidden Power Fire. Gyarados, great. You got a lot of like, not a lot of, you got a couple times 4 weaknesses in a row that aren't really going to matter. I mean, nothing's really running HP Electric besides like a water type for Gyarados, so it's not crazy. Yeah, it seems pretty solid, honestly. I think like Stunfisk is a little bit suspect, especially right next to a Steelix and Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan is fine. I'm not gonna knock Kangaskhan as a budget pit. 4 points is fine. I feel like there's like a very like quiet but like vicious Kangaskhan supporter group in the Pokemon community where like there's a lot of people who just love that mon. And I like it. I think it's good. So Ann Arbor Excelgors, another. I'm not even mentioning the bulk on a lot of these teams because the bulk is almost exactly the same. Maybe I should have mentioned Trog has had the highest like defense score so far, and I don't even remember why. It's because Slowking's busted, I guess. But I would say another team with like a little bit scary bulk. I mean, like Bolt Beam. He still has Jellicent to handle Bolt Beam, so I'm not gonna go too crazy on that. I mean, it's just another team that just didn't quite like push it to the top in terms of score. Good priority and scarf options. Ladio's great scarfer. Real Boom Scizor, amazing priority. Blaziken, good scarfer. Gyarados can run Scarf Moxie if it wants to. Then it kind of runs out. Pretty decent setup, I believe. I can't read my own thing. What? Yeah, pretty decent setup. Holy shit. I don't know. Slurpuff as the fairy is a little bit rough. I mean, Web's support on this team is pretty nice. I mean, you can a lot of physical mons that like Weds. I think the one of my it's another team where I'm just like your special presence is in fact Latios, and I think that's one of the things that hurt this team. It could have gotten a much higher offense score because the offense is like pretty out of control. I'm literally looking at 125, 130, 125, 120 attack stats all in a row. But Latios, I mean, like Blaziken, special Blaziken, yeah, like you have to acknowledge that it has 110 base special attack, but its special move pool is very, very lacking. So I don't know. It's a scary team. I think like these first three is just gonna carry this team, and then the rest are just like it's Galar decks. Like, what are you gonna do? But another team where I think it'll be tough to build for sure. I guess the other thing, I guess Slurpuff does have Unburden for like weird grassy seed things, but I didn't see a ton of synergy here with Rillaboom, because you have Blaziken, which is just like whatever, Drapion, kind of nice. I guess like Steelix resisting ground, Stunfisk resisting, or not resisting ground, but like handling grounds better is a little bit decent, but I don't know. It's mons that aren't going to stay in on ground types anyways. Like sometimes when you have like a Chandelure where it's like, oh, a very like high special attack that can take a ground type move now and like 2-hit KO Hippowdon or whatever. Like that's very good. Like Blaziken is just like, it's just gonna like close combat or Flare Blitz and die. You know, Drapion's gonna knock off and like you can't recover. And like you don't have like recovery mons or high offense mons that are benefiting from grassy terrain. So there's a little bit of a loss of synergy there, but still a decent team. I don't have a lot of bad things to say about it. I'm running out of bad things to say about any of these teams. Just like trying to justify why they're not higher up. So whatever. After this, next up in 12 is the Dutch Dewpider, coached by Foxator. So here we have our first sand team, probably our only sand team. No. I take that back because the Fossils get sand now, so even though Gallade does not have sand on his weird fucked up fake rain team, he could have ran sand. And I think there is a Hippowdon Dracozolt team higher up on here. If you haven't seen your team yet, that means you're higher ranked. It's the greatest thing. What do I have to say about the Dutch Dewpiders? I think this is one of those teams where it's like it's got some highs and some sort of lows. Another just like not very defensive team. I mean, Gigalith, nice built-in defense. Rainiclus, pretty bulky. Kind of Primarina, nice like natural bulk, can run offense. Moltres Galar, you have a lot of like bulky attackers. But defense is low because your only recovery is Rainiclus and regen Torn. So like missing a lot of like active recovery on this team. Which is gonna be harmful to surviving. I know it's Wi-Fi, like no one's trying to stall, but you do need to like be able to like heal your mons a little every once in a while. Not every matchup is gonna call for it. Weirdly enough, for a Rocks team, or for a Sand team, kind of bad hazards and removal. So we have Stealth Rocks on Gigalith and Exca. Gigalith, amazing Stealth Rocker, Extra Drill, not really gonna want to run it. And then removal, Defog Tornadus, not bad, but with Nasty Plot now an option, you're going to want to run coverage on a lot of weeks where you're trying to sweep with it. And then Extra Drill, Rapid Spin, obviously with the Speed Boost, Rapid Spin a lot better this gen, but Extra Drill still, if there's like some sort of like flying type that you need to hit with a rock move or whatever, you're going to have to forego coverage or like Sword Stance to run Rapid Spin on Extra Drill some weeks. And it may be, it may just be a week where it's like, I can't bring removal now because Extra needs all its moves and Tornadus needs all its moves. So that's going to hurt it. But then the rest of this team is actually like really good. The offense is out of control. No? Yes. Yeah. Offense is out of control. Ton of setup. obviously decent synergy with the sand. You do have obviously like Excadrill for sand sweeping, and then you also have less good this gen Stoutland without return, but it's still like 110 base attack. Like you can't like Stoutland's like a very good cleanup mod where it's like if you just have an extra slot, you're already running sand. As long as like you can support 2 sand users and keep Gigalith alive long enough to have it up, like Stoutland's scary. It's honestly like it's still not as good now, but it's definitely scary mod. If you're kind of like like what was this normal rock and steel? Well, I hope one of those can like handle Excadrill because like those are both weak to ground. So like weirdly no, normal ground is pretty good coverage. Besides against like Corviknight. So this is a team that'll definitely struggle with Corviknight. You have Lantern and Flareon for it. So like I think people like kind of undervalue fire types a lot because you run into a lot of issues where it's like, oh no, I can't break a steel flying type because all my moves are like non-stab and I have a Flareon. So there's like I said, I don't tend to knock teams for not being able to break certain mods, or if I go like, oh, Volcarona sweeps this team, I'm not gonna like lower a team because that's one mod that might not even be drafted. So I can't hit them too hard, but a scary team is just like, you know, low hazards and removals and low defense, like lower than some of the other teams we've seen that have scored lower. But obviously, like the offense and the synergy brings this team back up, and I had no problems with speed tiers. Just give it an 8. But like 8 is kind of like the score where it's like there's like I don't see any like problems with it, but like there's room for improvement. But obviously, if all you want to do is get a 10 in like speed tiers, like you're gonna lose somewhere. You're gonna lose in bulk or offense because you're just drafting like Bolton to get your 112 base speed or 122 base speed, whatever the hell that thing is. And that does not help your offense or defense stat when you have a Bolton. It's a decent mod. I don't mind it at all. It's just, you know, base stats aren't doing much for you. It gives you a little bit of setup at least. So whatever. Next up, above of the Dupiter, broke my brain. Is going to be the Motostoke Moltres. Cool logo, cool team, coached by Wes. Sorry, I like is W3S Wes. I'm assuming. I hope so. Sometimes like the people's like Discord server names don't necessarily match their like website names. Either their website name is just kept from what they originally did it, or they've something's changed at some point, or they're going by nickname, and I only know their nickname, and I haven't clicked on to see their actual Discord name. So I'm assuming this is Wes. Although all his like Twitch, Twitter, YouTube is Wes, so I would hope so. Wes7, got him. I'm a genius. So this team is kind of a little bit of the opposite of what we've seen recently. So speed tiers are okay. I think the main issue is that you have 2 base 100s and then Savali base 95, which doesn't do a ton, and Gorgeist, which depending on what form you're using, base 99 speed. You're probably not going to run the fast Gorgeist very often, but you can. And then there's Zygarde above that. So like 115, 110, 110, not terrible. Both your 110s are special attackers. Your 115s are physical attacker. This team is a little bit wonky. You have 2 dragon types right here, but you do have some very good ice handlers. I mean, like, yeah, freeze dried tentacle won't work with, but I mean, Umbreon just like special walls, gonna take ice moves. Glastrier, bulky, cool guy, gonna take ice moves. Heatran, gonna take a million ice moves. So like, there's no like anti synergy there with 2 dragon types. You can handle dragons as well too for the most part. But yeah, like this team has better hazards and removal than we've been seeing recently. Also, like Como, Heatran, very good stealth rockers, and then Tentacool, decent toxic spiker. And then you have Defog Savali, Defog Zapdos, Rapid Spin, Tentacool. All moves those bonds can run all the time, which is nice. So it's just like it's a balanced team, but balanced up a little bit. I think. Honestly, you know what? I'm taking it back. I'm looking at the math like on this, and it actually doesn't really add up why this team is higher. It's just barely higher than the last 3 weeks. Okay, here. I'm gonna put the table at the end, but here's 11 through 14. If you want to just like think about why like or like think about like no, why is this team ahead of me? 14 is 81.4, then 81.45, then 81.5, then 81.6. So you guys are all 0.2 within each other. So like any sort of like I could have given this another half point in removal or taken off a half point. I think I overvalued. Like these teams are all interchangeable. I should have said that like when I started, but 11 through 14 are basically interchangeable. They're all just very decent teams. I would like to see like a real. I don't know if Glacier needs Trick Room support, but like it doesn't have it here, so I don't know what it's going to be doing. At the very least, like I don't know, like you have like you can handle steel types with like Tentacool and Heatran and Zapdos, and then you can handle fighting types with Zapdos and Gardevoir and Tentacool kinda, and you can handle rock types with Como and okay, this team does not like rock types. A little sketchy. That's okay. But yeah, all these teams are interchangeable. So that's kind of why. It's just I don't know. I think I just valued some of the stats on this team a little bit better. This is one of the more bulky teams over offense so far. I mean, like Heatran, Zapdos, and Como are all like simultaneously offensive and defensive, and I think that's part of what got this team points. Is because I have to acknowledge the bulk of these mons, even though they don't. Zapdos is the only one with active recovery, but Heatran and Como have built-in bulk, and then you also have like Tentacool, Umbreon for like wish passing, healing. You know, like Como and Heatran can be very nice. So there's some synergy here. It's just I think this is like a fun team, and I think I don't see any glaring issues with it. So I kind of like even though I was just like I don't understand the math. I kind of stand by this team being at the top of those four that are all right next to each other, but not just like far and away. I don't know, my brain. Hey, we're halfway through, baby. It's the longest video anyone has ever seen. My alarm's gonna go off every time I record because it's the morning, and normally I'd be sleeping in. In 10th place is Chicago Dragapults, and I know who coaches this team, but I have to wait for the page to load. Q the Costa Rica. I don't know who that is. It's Q. I'm assuming is what they would prefer to go by. Okay, I did not know this team at all. Kind of a neat logo. Kind of a neat team. Chicago Dragapults. So this is another like it's Galar deck. So like all the teams are gonna have for the most part similar issues where it's like there's not a ton of speed tiers to fix teams with. But this team has a lot. I think is like actually more well-rounded than what we've been seeing, but in a better way. So off the bat, it's sort of there's a somewhat issue in speed tiers. So you have Zeros, Salazzle, Latias, which isn't bad at all, and then you have Comfy, which isn't even technically a base 100 speed, and then I think down to Mammothwine at 80. So like I probably could have rated the speed tiers higher on this one, but like I think I cheated and said like Comfy doesn't count as the base 100 because you're basically relying on the priority and trying to give it as much bulk as possible so you can actually do stuff. Very very rare you see a fast Comfy unless it's just like max speed, max HP, maybe in case there's like you need like Win and Calm Mind War. I don't really know. But it's also like a pseudo Trick Room team because you have Araquanid, Stacka, and Kofag at the bottom, slow speed. So I think that was the other issue is like I think you go from like Mandibuzz at 75. I guess you have Hitmontop at 70 all the way down to like 20 or whatever these like guys are. It's like there's a huge gap where like anything that's base like 60 can just run max HP, adamant or whatever. You know what I mean? Like now there's no. It makes building against this team a lot easier because you don't have to worry about like, oh, is my Primarina gonna outspeed their Clefable? Like stuff like that where you kind of have to like, I'm gonna take off like 10 HP or 10 defense so I can give 10 speed to try to win a speed tie. So you could just go max bulk and all that. And your lower speed mons. So maybe I could have given this team a little bit more speed tier score. But it's just like it's very good overall. I think there's a lack of setup on this team. Yeah. Well, okay. So like I don't know if I've like acknowledged this. I'm rating things on like variety a lot of the time. So like if your offense is like you have like 5 physical attackers that have like base like 120 plus, you're still gonna like get like an 8.5 or an 8 in offense because you have no special attackers. That's just how it works. Same thing for hazards. Like you can get a 10 if you have like a good setter of every hazard, like reliable, you know. And it's not even if you have like Mew gets like every hazard now essentially besides Sticky Web. It's still like it can't run all 3, so it doesn't technically like it raises your score for hazards for sure, but it doesn't like it's not like a free like 9.5 just because you have Mew and then you have Sticky Webs you get a 10. Like not quite how that works. So I do the same thing for setup. If you don't have any sort of like Dragon Dancer or good like agility Rock Polisher or Quiver Dance, you know, if you don't have like the good like speed boosting setup, like that's a huge portion of setup that can, you know, win games. So I mean you have like Nasty Block Gofag, you have built in boosting and Stacka, you have Nasty Block Salazzle, you have Calm Mind, Latias, and bulk up their aura. So this team is gonna. It doesn't have physical setup basically. So like if you run into a situation where like a mon is boosting its defense, you can't just like keep it in check by boosting your offense, your physical attack. Even though you wouldn't normally do that anyways, because that if they're boosting defense, they're probably body press set. So you can't just like sword stance against a iron defense user anyway. So it doesn't really like that analogy or whatever, that situation doesn't really make sense. But you do have amazing offense. Zera, Latias, Mamoswine, very good. I mean, Latias is amazing offense. It's obviously the more defensive Lati, but it's doing work there. I mean, offense and defense pretty well balanced. You have Mamo, Araquanid, Kofag, you have like Intimidate, support, and Hitmontop. So the defense is pretty decent. Manibuzz is... Oh, I mean, Latias has built-in defense too. Latias and Manibuzz can recover. You can even have Wish Passing with Latias if you need it. And then offense, you know, like Salazzle can hit hard. Second attack hits hard physically. I mean, and then Mamo, Latias, Zera. So like, it's a balanced team. You have like decent physical breakers, decent bulk, decent speed tiers. Like, I don't think I went over hazards and removal, but you got some pretty decent options there. I mean, Mamo, Stacka, not amazing across the users, but Araquanid, very good. Sticky Web, and Kefagrius, very good Toxic Spikes. So ironically, the rocks are the weakest part of the hazards of this team, and then Manbuzz, great defogger, him on top, decent spinner. Comfy and Latias can run defog if they need to. Sometimes you just run into a situation where you don't need that extra move, and you're just like, well, just in case, something like that. So just a very well balanced team. I think a little bit low in setup, not the greatest speed tiers, but probably better than I even ranked them to begin with. So I don't know. I think this team is totally fine. I don't want to call it like a generic Gen 8 like Wi-Fi team, but that's kind of like what it reminds me of. Like these are just like all very like these are mons besides maybe Stacka. I feel like people like really like don't like Stacka, especially as your only steel type, which like I'm not gonna disagree with honestly. But I feel like there are a lot of mons that are just like Zero is very good in this meta. Lotties are good in the meta. Mamoswine's great in the meta. Manibuzz, Araquanid, great with boots now. Like you have mons that are good in the meta. Him on top with like rapid spin boost and triple axle. So there's a lot of like good like Jenny boosted mons. Or Mamo didn't really get anything extra, but it's just like good, and there's less mons to check it than ever. So, you know, I'll record one more of these. My throat's falling out of my neck. It's making sense. So in 9th place, the second mod. We're back, baby. It's been a while. Sorry, Galadite. Feel whatever. It's gonna be the Vancouver Titans, Gray, Jack, whatever you want to call him. Gray V, even though he like doesn't go by Gray V almost ever. It's just written that way, but no one ever calls him that. So Gray in the top 10. So you can't be like, oh, underrated anymore. Anyone 11 and above, you can complain. You're not allowed to complain if you're top 10. He's got a good team. It's a classic Jack draft. Like almost everything's really good, and then I go like, you know, what's his removal? Ooh, Girder, Hydreigon, Lurantis. Wow, none of those ever want to run defog. Girder, kind of. Hydreigon, maybe. Lurantis, no. Why is Lurantis even on this team? Is there not a better grass type in the 1-point tier, whatever this thing is? Hatterene for Magic Bounce, that doesn't count as removal as much as the site wants to say. but I mean, I guess it kind of does. I mean, if he gets Hatterene Magic Bounce to bounce hazards at least once during the season, I take it all back, baby. But whatever, fuck it. The other thing is the team's lacking a little bit of offense, which is weird. So like Selly has like built-in offense and can boost into Oblivion. Hydreigon, very good special attacker. Nidoqueen with sheer force becomes a good special attacker. And then it's like Entei is like pretty good. Hatterene's decent. Stuff like that, some stuff. And then you look at like the back half of this team, like Gal, Frostlass, Miltank, even Barbaracle, Girder, Lantis. They all have okay offense, but they're not enough to boost the team's offense. They can boost the team's setup all they want, but he's not. No one's like scared of these guys. Like, oh, Girder like checks, I don't know, Urshifu or something. Like my fighting type gets 1v1 by Girder. Oh, Barbaracle, if it sets up late game, it could be scary. But like none of these teams like, oh, Miltank, it's gonna run Choice Band and blow me out of the water. Like so he's definitely missing some offense here. And removal, but the rest of the team is out like very good. His hazards are incredible. Frostlass, good spiker. Barbaracle, okay, stealth rocker. Miltank, great stealth rocker. Nidoqueen, great stealth rocker. Galvantula, good sticky webber. Nidoqueen, great toxic spike user. So he's got everything. He's got every hazard, and all of them are good at using their hazards. So it's like, yeah, Frostlass is technically like it's a good spiker, but it's not a good mon. So it's not coming enough to be a good spiker, if that makes sense, which is like kind of like an arbitrary thing to like knock points off. He has Jack's like me. He likes to draft every type in the game, so he gets an extra like half point in typing against the people who don't have like an ice or a bug type or a rock type or something. As long as it's not all three, that's a few too many types to be missing. But yeah, besides offense and removal, like the team's super good. Great setup, synergy. There's nothing like blatant. Yeah, it's missing a little bit of momentum on this team. I think is like I kind of incorporate momentum into the synergy score. Like that's the best place to put it, I think, because momentum doesn't necessarily count as offense if you have teleport users and shit like that. So yeah, I mean Suicune Entei is kind of funny. No Raikou, sad. But I don't know if Raikou would help this team. But I don't know. It's a weird team where it's like he's gonna be like scrambling to break teams. I think that's like the biggest issue. I mean, if the opponent gets rocks up, it's really just like Entei and Galvantula that are worried about it. Frostlass too, but like Frostlass isn't as much of a mon. I don't think it's a 7-point mon. I think it's one of those mons where it's like it's okay. Like it obviously has its uses and like it can do a lot of cool stuff. But at the end of the day, like if it were any lower, it'd probably be like actually good. And then where it's at, I think it should be maybe worth a little bit less. I don't know. I mean, I won a championship with Frostlass on my team, and it came to finals, and it helped me beat a Dragonite because I just had like Ice Shard, and so it couldn't extreme speed me, so I was guaranteed to do a lot of decent damage. But I think Frostlass just needs to have like plus 10 to like all of its stats that aren't speed, because like here I'm just gonna read off Frostlass's stats to you in case you weren't aware of them. 70, 80, 70, 80, 70, 110. That's nothing. There's no bulk there. There's no offense there. 110 is like extremely common speed tier. What is this mod doing? It's an evolution. It's a stone evolution. Should have some more stats. But that's it. Even though I'm just gonna continue the video, so I'm not gonna fake it this time, but continue here and see who's next. I'm gonna lose my mind. In 8th place is JB Westside and the Las Vegas Cinderaces. A very decent team. Fuck. I just recorded the last 8 of these and my audio wasn't recording because despite putting my computer in sleep and just reopening Audacity, you hit record and I'm not picking up the mic. Why? Well, nothing changed. Nothing was clicked. Nothing was moved. Out of control. Alright, okay speed tiers, 102 Garchomp, 109 Cobalion, a lot of jumbling, in 80, 90 range. It's not like bad, it's just, not diverse. You run a 110 Scarfer and you're outspeeding this whole team. A little bit rough. Okay hazards, mana removal. Golisopod isn't going to want to run spikes all the time or even come. Cobalion can run rocks, Garchomp can run rocks, Vigavolt, very good sticky webber at the very least. And then Moltres and Avalugg as your only defogger and rapid spin. That's like rough. I mean, Moltres can really run boots and defog, sure, but it's also going to want to run like Roost, Dual Stab, Toxic, stuff like U-Turn. It has other moves that it wants to run, so if it has to run defog, you're limiting its utility. But it's also this team just like loves boots. Like Avalugg can always run boots, doesn't care. Glisspot run boots, so what's it going on run band otherwise, I guess. Vikavolt, you run boots all the time, doesn't really care. I mean, Life Orb sets occasionally. Moltres, same thing. Maybe you want to scarf it. You know, you have a lot of mons that totally can run boots, so it's not a huge thing. It just makes you like team like knockoff weak if you're relying on boots. Theoretically, yeah. So removal, nah. But offense, they're very potent. You have Garchomp and PZ as good physical special attackers. You have Moltres and Vikavolt. Again, very good special attacker. They have Glisspot and Avalugg. I mean, their offense is there. They don't run like Glisspot does, like liquidation and first impression is fine. Avalugg not really doesn't have. It's really gonna be running body press. I don't know if body press and high defense I can count towards the offense score. I kind of can, but not really. Since it's only one move, so it doesn't really count. But, you know, defense, once again, a little bit lacking. Slowbro, great defense. Slowbro and Moongaze regen core is obnoxious as hell, and that's all you really need. I mean, Avalugg adds some extra physical bulk. You know, you can run, like, AV Scrafty or Special Defensive Scrafty. So, like, the bulk is definitely there. It's on the higher end of the bulk scores, but not maximum or whatever. And then good priority Scarfers and great setup here. You got a lot of good mons in, like, the Gen 8. You have, like, good and underrated mons in Gen 8. Like, Garchomp and Slowbro super good with Garchomp running Scale Shot and Slowbro with Teleport. Sword Stance and Mimikyu always an issue. Nasty Plot and Agility Porygon Z. I think Mimikyu Porygon Z is like a weirdly good combo that's just gonna be annoying to deal with and like defend against. And you know, Moongaze is always good. Moltres, you have all the boots users that are gonna like having boots this gen, so it's very it's just like a decent team. I was thinking like I remember talking about this team and saying I could have like lowered something, but and given like Gray a higher spot. I don't really care. So it's just a good team. I think this team, like I said, I'm measuring these for depth, and I think this team checks those boxes for depth. In 7th is the Atlantic Victinis and JV. This team's pretty fun. I don't remember what he drafted round 1. It might have been Cinderace, then Clefable. It might have been the other order. I remember there was a very early Cinderace, and I was like, ooh. Interesting. Hey, I just recorded for an hour and 10 minutes, and my throat's destroyed. I just went right back into it. I'm not going to be able to finish. It's bad. You're listening to a man die in real time. Speed tiers, okay. You have Azelf and Cinderace up there, and Tornadus as good plus like over 110 base speed mods, and then you drop to Crook, which is a bit rough because all 110s are going to be able to run like Modest and Adamant now if they want to. So that's going to cause you some issues. Removals, decent. You have like Court Change, Cinderace, sweet. Priority Defog on Tauren can be nice. Rapid Spin, Serena, pretty good. Dragon to Defog, probably not coming. And a few decent stealth rockers. Clefable, good rocker. Azelf, decent rocker. Crocodile, okay rocker. Not always going to want to run it. Going to be running like Scarf and stuff. But yeah, offense on this team is extremely potent. You have Dragonite. You have Azelf, you have good mix attacking with Azelf, you have Cinderace for physical, Toxicity for special, Crook for physical, Torn for physical and special, probably gonna run special, Scavalier high physical, Serena high physical, Sock high physical. Like the offense is just out of control in this team, like the base offense, like, and then this team also has crazy setup. You have, you know, Dragonite, Dragon Dance, Clefable setup, Azelf setup, Cinderace can bulk up, Toxicity with shift gear, Crook with bulk up and Scale Shot and Moxie built in, Torn with Nasty Plot now, like. Just massive setup, massive offense. That's what's carrying this team to the top. And Priorities and Scarfers are even good. You have Cinderace Sucker Punch, Dragonite with extreme speed, you know, Azelf, Cinder, Crook can all run Scarf, Torn can run Scarf if it needs to. Sock likes to run Scarf. Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't know what Lapras is doing on this team. Having your water type not resist fire is a bit of a nightmare. I mean, you have Dragonite, you have Cinderace, but if Lapras were, I mean, it's 2 points, so like I don't know what other water types are in 2 points. Wartortle probably would have been better. I don't know. I don't think anybody drafted that. Maybe they did. Maybe that's a 3-pointer. I don't even know. But that's like that's my biggest issue with this team is Lapras. Other than that, it's a very, very potent offense, and I'm sure it's gonna get some just heavy wins, just running people over. All right, this is the mod squad session. We got like 4 mods in a row, I think. That's probably right. Next up is Shaykwaza and the Dallas Starmies. I don't think I've seen much of Gen 8 Shay yet. Maybe I have, actually, now that I think about it. I don't really know. But Shay's been around for a bit. Very good battler. And he drafted like kind of my SBT team as of late. I don't know, like only like a few of you know what league that is. But I had Galar Darm, Galar Zapdos, Heliolisk, and Whimsicott all on that team. So obviously having 4 of the same mods means, you know, they drafted my team. Except that was a Showdown and had a Mega, so I had Mega Venusaur. So it was like a weird pseudo-sun team with like Prankster, Sunny Day, and not Mega Evolving Venusaur. It was a bad team. I hated it. This team's a little bit better. Had the same issues my other team had, where it's like a good flying type. Just like, what do you do against like Noivern on this team? It just like clicks Hurricane and then like can run like Flamethrower for Heliolisk. Like it's not amazing. You know, it's just it's just how it goes. That's okay, because it's got very good speed tiers. Spectre is super fast. You have Whimsicott, Heliolisk, Excelgor. Like you have like all the speed you need on this team. Even in the 90s and below, like you're still doing okay. Like Darm to Duraludon, so speed tier is extremely good on this team. Hazards and removal, nothing to worry about there. You have Claydol, good Stealth Rocker. Excelgor, good Spikers, both Spikes. Duraludon, okay, Stealth Rocker. Charger Bug, Sticky Web, it counts. It's Charger Bug, greatest mod in the game. Ask Lux, or whatever. I'm shutting down. Offense leaves a little bit to be desired. It's still pretty good built-in offense. Darm, Zapdos, extremely strong physical. Spectre, extremely good special. Even like Duraludon. You know, you have decent offense here. This is the lowest defense score in the league for obvious reasons. You have Blastoise's bulk and Claydol's bulk and no active recovery. Extremely rough. No cleric, no wish passing. It's rough. This team is either gonna run people over and set up in their faces, or he's gonna whittle away into nothingness. Because even the priority and scarfing and setup isn't that amazing. So this team's just gonna be running a lot of like choice items and like maybe like, you know, Smash Toys and like Crawdon. You don't even have like good like screen options for Smash Toys either, which is like kind of rough. Like that's one of the things you like to have. It's like the synergy isn't anything special. I actually have low synergy on this team, and I'm not even sure why. Like, wait, am I missing something here? Like that the synergy is so bad. But I roasted him. I roasted him. I've lost my mind. I don't know what I did, but screw you, Shay. Your synergy sucks. I don't know. I really don't know. But low synergy score, and I accept it because this team has no defense, and that's about it. Maybe it's like bad pivoting. I think I didn't like that he doesn't have amazing pivoting for Spectre here, and that can't be right because he has U-turn, flip turn. I think Blastoise gets flip turn. Heliolisk with like U-turn stuff. Teleport. I don't know why I knocked him so hard on synergy, but whatever. Still a good team. Obviously, he's in 6th, so you can't complain too much. But anyways, after him, my first run of these PRs was probably way better, but whatever. After him, in 5th place is Mid Poke Blaster and then Kentucky Tora Blasts. So he was first pick. He got Dragapult. Whatever. You know, the Dragapult should be banned. The bandwagon is growing ever fiercer. Every league, people think it should be banned. Think it's too good. I disagree, but only barely. I think it's like an Excadrill. It's like a Gen 7 Coco. It's like it's a round 1 pick 100% of the time, and it's picked in the first like 3 almost all the time, unless you have people who just don't want to use it anymore because they've been done too many leagues or something. I don't know. But very, very good team. Good speed tiers. Yeah, Dragapult fast, Galdeo, Drachi, Rotomo, Togekiss. Totally fine. A little bit specially biased there, but not a huge deal. Dugtrio, kind of bridging the gap between Dragapult and Keldeo nicely. No complaints there. Mid in classic fashion. Not amazing hazards or removal, just totally decent. Run on Mo and Togekiss can totally defog, not a problem. Dugtrio, not really gonna run rocks because it's like it traps most mods and it's not gonna force them out to get free rocks up unless something's like locked into an electric move. And if you're locked into electric moves, I guess a team with a Dugtrio, like I don't know what you're doing. Drachi, okay, rocks. So the rocks are pretty weak. Toxic Spike's nice from Weezing. It's going to have some nice synergy there with Pult as well, running Hex. So, you know, look out for that. Giving away all of Mid's strategies. Offense and defense very balanced. I like the bulk on this team quite a bit. Jirachi bulky, Togekiss fat as hell, can recover. You know, we got Intimidate supports Cineroar, Rotomo, built-in bulk, Quagsire and Weezing, both very good NSTL favorites for me. Good Fizz Def and healing. So can't complain too much. I don't really know what Easty is doing on this team. I mean, for 3 points, like I know like you can't make it a 1-pointer or even a 2-pointer just because it has like the weird belly drum niche. But like I don't know, Easty's weird. I like to run. I had it in like a very early Galardex league, like pre DLC, and I ran it special like most of the time I brought it. I think I probably ran it special like 3 to 2 times that it came out of like 5 games, because you run just like freeze dry and like hydro pump and shit, and like the water types that come in to try to wall it, you just run like Specs or Life Orb, and I OHKO'd a Dracovish turn 1 with freeze dry once. It was awesome. But other than that, I don't know. Yeah, mid seem totally fine. Lots of good setup options here. You got Dragonance, you got Jirachi, you got Togekiss, you got Keldeo Combine, Nasty Plots all around. You know, it's everything you need. Missing a little bit of additional speed boosting. You basically just have Dragapult with Dragonance for speed boosting setup. You know, so it's not like the best setup score in the world, but just very good draft by mid. He's gonna go like 7-5 with an okay diff and maybe make playoffs or not. Like that's the mid's thing. He doesn't dominate, but he's very consistently in the running. Fuck you, mid. I've lost my mind. Okay. Next up in 4th place is Lars, or AKA El Scizor, the Borussia Dortmund man. Lars has been around for years. He's the oldest man in Draft League. That's not true. That was Tup. I don't think Lars is that old. He's just been around forever. Classic big name. We pulling in the big names for UPBA. BBL, never heard of it. BBR? They're both. BBR, never heard of it. Yeah, I'll edit that to make it so I was right the first time. This team's weird. This is the team, one of those teams where I looked at it and I was like, I don't like this team. And then I scored it and I'm like, oh shit, this is like the best team. I ranked this one like very early, I remember. And it was like the top team for like maybe like, I don't know, for the first like out of like after like I did 10, I think this team was still in like 2nd. So very good draft by Lars. Speed tiers are okay. You have Zygarde, Volk, Nihilego. You know, nothing amazing, nothing bad. A little bit like your 100 pluses are special. You know, a little bit slow of a team. Nothing crazy. I'm not gonna hit it too hard. Hazards are very good. Removal is good. And you got Nihilego with rocks and spikes, or toxic spikes. You have Scarm with rocks and spikes. You have Oxy with solid rocks. So 3 very good hazard users. Only 3 hazard users, but they have some variety to them too, which is kind of nice. And then Scarm, good defog. Hitmonlee, Rapid Spin, okay Decidueye, okay defogger. Volk, not really a defogger, but who knows? There could be a matchup where it's just like you're running boots anyways, and you have the free slot. Usually, if you have a free slot on Volk, you're just gonna run Quiver Dance. But you know what I mean. I don't know. Quiver Dance, 2 attacks, defog. You're probably running Roost. It could happen. You never know. A base offense actually on this team leaves a lot to be desired. This is one of the few teams with a better defensive score than offense. I mean, there's like I don't know 4 or 5 of those total in the league. But you have Nihilego and Sylveon and Volk as your like really big special attackers, and then you have Hitmonlee as your best physical attacker. So you're very gonna be like relying on like banded Zygarde, maybe like banded Decidueye, like set up Decidueye. Like your physical breaking on this team is very like scary. So if you're facing a team with very good special defense, which I mean kind of luckily like doesn't exist because not a lot of these defenses are amazing, but you know. If you have like a team that like Nihilego and Volcarona are having trouble breaking, then you're gonna run into issues. But so got a lot going on for the setup on this team is out of control. You have Dragon Dance, Quiver Dance, Volcarona, Zygarde, and Coil on Zygarde. You have built-in beast boosts on Nihilego. You have Sylveon with Combine, Hitmonlee Bulk Up, just with Swords Dance, Uxie doing stuff that can calm mine. You know, you just have a nasty plot Persian. You just have like every physical special speed setup on this team, which is what boosted a lot. I don't have anything special for synergy on this team. And then okay priority and Scarfers. I mean, you have good priority with like Hitmonlee, Mach Punch, and Bolt Punch, and Decidueye, like Shadow Sneak, and Zygarde Extreme Speed, pretty decent. I mean, your Scarfers is mostly Nihilego. You can run Scarf with Canyon. You can run Scarf like Hitmonlee or Decidueye. It's a little bit rough on the Scarfers, but I don't know. It's just it's a team where it's like I'm even looking at it now and I'm like, this team in 4th doesn't fully sit right with me.
but I think it's a good team. I can't like there's like cognitive dissonance here with this team where I'm just like I look at it and I'm like, why is this team fourth? But like it checks enough boxes. I mean, like its lowest score in any category is a 7.5. Like that's very good because that means anything above is just shooting the average up. So I don't know, good draft by Lars. I can't really complain about it. I can complain about myself and my preconceptions. So above El Cizor in third place is the Milwaukee Metachamps, coached by Goki Gamer. It's a great name. I love Goki Gamer. I don't know him at all, but I'm assuming he's a chill dude. I'm assuming everyone in this draft is chill. So we have our last weather team made it all the way to third. So obviously you're missing like the big two Sanders in this gen, which are Dracovish and Excadrill, but it kind of brings it back because you got, I mean, Dragazol obviously still fine. Lander with Sandforce going to make that like viable for the most part. Obviously, Sandforce only is boosting your like rock ground and I think steel moves. So it's like he doesn't get like the sludge wave boost, even being in sand. But that's okay. Lycanroc with Sand Rush is totally gonna be fine. And then you also have like a little minor synergy with Tabu Fini and Subtile. Oh yeah. My last take of this, I was saying I would have liked Hitmonlee on Lars's team to have terrain to get the free Unburden. And I was saying with this team, if they had Hitmonlee over Hitmonchan, that would boost this team even further up, I think, a little bit. But still a good team. Not a lot to complain about here. Speed tiers, even for a sand team, are totally handled fine. You have like Lycanroc, Celebi, Landorus, Subtile up top. So like the speed tiers are handled totally fine. Hazards and removal, nothing to complain about. We have Celebi, Landorus, Lycanroc is all okay rock users. Tyranitar is a good stealth rock user, and Orbeetle is a good sticky web user. So, no spikes of either kind on this team, but not totally needed. Like no one's like centralizing the meta around spikes and toxic spikes. I think toxic spikes are probably like the most overlooked and some of the most damaging. I think like people who like toxic spikes like them for a very good reason. Offense on the team, pretty good. You have Dragazol, which is like hustle offense, so it kind of counts even though you want to run it. T-Dar is great. Base offenses, you can mix it, which is very nice. Landorus, same thing, mix it, very good. Yeah, I don't know. The offense obviously is out of control, but it's definitely there. Oh, Melmetal, I haven't even like mentioned Melmetal on this team. I think Melmetal with Finny is very nice to keep all your very physically oriented team for sure, but prevents too much like wisping on Chan, Lando if it's physical, Zolt, T-Tar, and Melmetal. Those all very much benefit from the terrain. So I think the synergy on this team is like very, very good. Defense leaving some to be desired. Tabu Fini, amazing defensive mon. Can't fully heal without like draining kits, leftovers, stuff like that. Metal built-in bulk, very nice. LB decent bulk. Just being a base 100, it can recover. Orbeetle and Celebi here are just like that. It's a bit much. Like they compound their fire weaknesses. They compound their bug weaknesses. Ghost and Dark because they're both psychics. I don't like. I wish like Celebi was on this team, just not as a grass type. But like Subtile's not even really a grass type. So it's weird. I don't know. I don't like totally like that. It's not like anti synergy. It's just like it's personal preference. I mean, this team's not too like worried about bugs. You have Metal, Finny, Landorus. Like this team missing a poison type too. Team's missing a poison type. Lots of poison types missed. I guess poison types aren't as good this gen. There aren't as many good ones. I don't know. Seems to be what people tend to be missing. But that did knock his typing score down just a little bit. Just, I think having like fairy resist and having bug resist for like U-turn and stuff can be quite nice. And then setup on this team is obviously very good by default. You have Metal and has its Iron Defense sets. Epiphany is Calm Mind, and T-Tar can boost, and Lando can boost, Selby can boost, Lycanroc can boost, Hitmonchan can boost, Orbeetle can boost, Subdog can boost, Terminator can boost. Kombucha. Just a very good setup, very amazing synergy. I think the synergy is what pushed this team to third rather than maybe below like mid's team in sixth, it would be or in fifth, I guess. I don't know. It's a good draft, good synergy. Without having Excadrill or Dracovish, still very good sand team, I think. So that means in second place, there's two left, baby. I probably went through these a little bit quicker, but partly because I knew what I wanted to talk about, and also partly because I'm dying. I'm just dying. So there's two C teams left. There's Chicago and Cleveland. Is it Is it Cl? Let me find them. Also, like, there's so many C teams. There's Charlotte, Chicago, Cleveland, Calgary. You guys got to stop. In second place is Chicago Strength Set and Aquarius, coached by Aquarius. Screw you, you don't get a good PR. I already told you, sort of, that you did good. Whatever. So Aquarius, I always forget the name of one of the really good coaches in Gen 8 helped Aquarius, or like I don't even know how they did it, but like had some sort of advice drafting this team, and this team is pretty borked. The first thing you'll notice, I think, if you go down, the team's fat as fuck. What is happening here? So you got Mew, built-in bulk, obnoxious defensive mon, melodic, super good defensive mon, random heat, very good bulk, Weezing Galar, Registeel, Vileplume. The bulk on this team is out of control, which could cause problems in Wi-Fi. I mean, I don't want to like assume that Aquarius is going to be taking games to timer, or even wants to be, but that very well may happen. Hopefully, it doesn't cause any like salt or anything. It shouldn't. Like everyone should be nice to each other, but like you can be salty, just don't be salty at your opponent. Just be salty that the game exists in the form that it does. That's just what I do. I get mad at the game rather than the players for the most part, unless the player's like already being a dick. But no one should be being a dick. It's a fun Wi-Fi league with friends. So the main issue with this team is offense, specifically special attacking. I mean, you have like Nasty Plot Rotom and Nasty Plot Mew as options, but the base special attack, your best special attacker is Vileplume. Like, that's kind of crazy if you think about it. I mean, a 110 base special attack for Vileplume is decent, but and Tracheon and Diggersby are your only like real like base physical threats. So a bit of a passive team here. So you kind of like, that's kind of how bulky teams work. You have to kind of hope you can set up in front of the bulk and not take too much hits or status and hit them back. The one thing, I guess, like, I think Drifloon gets Hex, so you have a little bit of like toxic spikes with Weezing Galar, like synergy there. I would like a stronger ghost type on this team to run Hex would be nice. Hazards are super good on this team. They're out of control. Diggersby spikes is a little bit like nothing, but Mew gets everything besides webs. Registeel, great rocker. Dragon, okay rocker. We get okay rocker. Weezing Galar, great toxic spiker. You got everything you need there. Besides webs, if it was webs, it'd be out of control. Removal, even better, honestly. Like Rotom Heat, amazing defogger. Mew, I think is a good defogger. Weezing Galar, awesome defogger. Talonflame, boost defog. It's there. If this team had a rapid spin user of some kind, it'd just be through the top. Since it has to remove its own hazards to remove your hazards, that's the only issue. But you can't always get a rapid spin off anyway, so it's fine. Typing, not a problem. Offense, low score. Defense, high score. The setup is good on this team for sure. You have Mew gets all the setup in the game. Tracheon, Dual Dance. Plot. Rotom, Swords Dance, Diggersby. It's there. You have like some like Iron Defense, Body Press, like Registeel options for setup. So it's definitely there. I think obviously like this team, I think because it's lacking that base offense, it's gonna struggle a little bit with other bulky teams. Like if your bulk is enough to handle this bulk, then you're gonna have long, boring, non-good YouTube video battles. Can't get that clout, can't get those subscribers, and I have no problem with the synergy of this team. There's no real anti-synergy, but there's no incredible like positive synergy. But it also, like, obviously a very, very obnoxious team. I would not want to play this. I would love to have this to build with. It looks like a great team to build with and get in some zest in there just to kind of handle like other people's bulks. I would like a good trapper on this team. Like if this team is like a little bit too passive, if like this Red still get blocked. I mean, there's no point. Like, if you had like a good, Whirlpool user, I guess. I don't think Melodic gets Whirlpool or wants to use it. But if you had a good like trapper just to like take down someone else's bulk, that'd be great for this team. But whatever. That's like, I'm not gonna knock points off of that. But yeah, very, very good team. I'm losing my mind. So that means in first place is the Cleveland Indeedies, coached by KJ22594. I do not know KJ. I do not even know if that's what they go by in Discord. But hey, first place, baby. Drafted like some of my favorite mons, and then like one of my least favorite mons, Zarudi. That's not how you say that. Maybe it is. Has Zarud been in the anime yet? I'm about to sneeze, and there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. Help! But I don't want to sneeze. Okay, I'm over it. I talked myself out of it. You ever do that? You ever talk your body out of like natural like responses? Using your brain power alone, Galaxy Brain. A lot of mons I really like. I really like Arcanine. I really like Rotom. I love Kyurem, this gen at least. Lando, obviously an awesome mon. I don't even necessarily like using these mons. I do like using like Arcanine and Rotom, but like I think these mons are good. Metagross is good. Zarud sucks, but whatever. It fills it fills holes. Noivern's awesome on, I think, Quillfish. I think the low pointers on this team are a little bit I hate that Dancy is the only fairy. I think that's like its biggest issue. It's not like necessarily even like fighting weak or whatever for like to need Dancy or whatever, but I just kind of I don't like Dancy anymore. I have it on a team this gen, and it's just like I can like never justify bringing it because it's too slow. It doesn't recover. You know, it's got the rock hurts it way more than it helps it for the most part. Besides obviously Diamond Storm being nice, but this team super awesome. The speed tiers are out of control good on this team. You have like alternating special and physical attackers. You know, you go from Noivern to Cinccino to Zarude to fucking Kyurem and Arcanine to Lando to Rotom to Metagross. Just like alternating physical, special attackers and good speed tier gaps. Like super good. Hazards leave very little to be desired. I think you're just another team missing webs, but you have Dual Spikes and Quillfish. You have a good rockers in all Dancy, Lando, and Metagross. Very easy to run rocks on those mons. Removal, it's decent. It leaves a little bit to be desired. I think Rotom's a great defogger, and then Noivern Noivern's not really a good defogger. Lando's okay one, but you're usually wanting to run like knockoff, U-turn, Earthquake, Stealth Rock. So like you can't if you don't need rocks or you have like Metagross that can run rocks, you can run defog on it. Not amazing there. Base offense is decent. It's nothing like crazy out of control. Like Lando's a great physical attacker. Kyurem's a great mixed attacker. It's going to go special most of the time. Arcanine and Metagross is rude, all physical. Passimian physical. This team is a little weak on the special attacking side, and much like Aquarius, I mean, you have Nasty Plot Rotom to help with that a little bit. I think does Metagross get Calm Mind? I don't think it does, or runs it. Metagross is more like a weakness policy mon, but defense leaves a little bit to be desired. You have massive Intimidate support on this team, which is good and bad because Intimidate got nerfed in this gen because now like Scrappy and like Steadfast or something. There's like a few abilities now that Intimidate doesn't even work on. You have quite a few Defiant users. I think Aquarius has Wigglytuff, so like that's gonna run competitive and just beat you. It's not obviously not gonna do that, but it's still something to consider. I think like competitive Melodic could be like an issue for this team too, but you have Kyurem, so not really, so it's fine. The Intimidate's not crazy, but you have good built-in bulk. Your only healers are really like Arcanine and Noivern for active healing, so it's not like anything incredible. But it's just like this. I don't know. It seems just like got everything it needs, besides defense a little bit. So like, Kyurem Roost too. I don't know what I'm talking about. Rotom playing splits. My brain doesn't work. The main issue I have with this team is actually like the setup. Like Lando dual dances, Kyurem can Dragon Dance. I think it's Scale Shot too, which is nice. Rotom, with Nasty Plot, Agility, Metagross, Bulk Up Zarude. Like it's nothing really stand out with the setup on this team. It's definitely got good setup. The setup's there, but it just doesn't like blow me away with like, oh no, if this one thing gets up Dragon Dance or Quiver Dance, I lose. Like plenty of teams have that mon, and you're not going to see that too often with this team. You might see a good like Dragon Dance Kyurem matchup. Like Kyurem having 130 attack is so crazy to me because like it's always running special attack, but now that it has like Icicle Spear and Dragon Dance, like you can run it now, kind of. Not a lot to complain about with this team. It's got garbage mon with Zarude, and it's got lots of good mons. This is a team that I would very much be fine with using. I personally think like the bottom 5 could probably be worked around a little bit. I don't know what was available, so maybe Dancy really was the best fairy option. Fuck it, I mean run Gramble, run another Intimidator. I don't know if I've seen Gramble drafted in this league. I think I'm 99% sure it exists in this gen right now, but I don't know. Then you have Morgrim as a nice like one pointer. I can't really complain about Morgrim. It like handles Spectrier for the most part. Like it still set up screens and like attack it. Whereas like you don't want to really switch the route into a possible Will-O-Wisp or Cinccino, which are your dark and normal types for that. So it works. I don't know if this team is actually amazing. I think it just happened to click, like check the right boxes and do well enough. Even with a very low setup score, but I think setup I don't have massively weighted in my made-up scoring system. But that'll do it for PRs. Oh baby, I don't know, man. I'd be like your individual PRs. I didn't really like. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to do PRs. You can like suggesting to be like, oh, like I would change this, or I don't know what this mon's doing on the team. I don't know. I mean, you could just I could just say like, hey, your physical offense like sucks to a team, and maybe they could try to switch out something for better stats. I don't know. It's hard to do it because for the most part, you aren't gonna find a lot of like good physical or special like pure stat breakers and like below like 8 points, and that's usually where a lot of people's like wiggle room for their teams is to make trades. So that's what if when you're missing offense or defense and you're trying to gain, and there's better bulk usually in lower points, but when you're trying to gain pure offense on a team or even speed, like it's very hard to do without making large point trades, and then obviously like the large points. That's like the worst adjective to be using. Large points. Am I out of my mind? The higher point trades are going to be harder to pull off to keep your team okay. A lot of people have built around the first few picks for the most part. Whether or not it's like they've built around it. Whether I have Veil with like setup mons, or if it's just like that's where a lot of their budget went. So I don't know. It's fine. Good teams by everybody. The scores were very, very tight. I don't know what it is about Gen 8 if like if people just all drafted very well in this one, but like usually my scores like, or if I was just like scoring very like nicely, but usually my scores like about half the teams in a league are like 80 and below, and half 80 and below, and half the teams are above. But the lowest 80 was Trog in 15th, and then there's like there's 5 teams below 80, which is like crazy. And even then, like the difference between, I mean, the Lycanux I absolutely roasted in score, but between 19th and 1st, there are less than 7 points, which I feel like there's usually at least like 10. So like beside, I mean, even then, like it's less than 12 for the whole league. Like usually there's 3 or 4 teams that are like lower, but like there's so many that were so tight. Like if you look at the table and you're within like a point, I would say of somebody else, like you easily could have jumped them. Like especially that 11 to 13 or 11 to 14 like range. Like any of those teams, you swap around all you want. You could swap around first and second. I think the top 2 teams are the top 2 teams. But then like the 80, everything in the 84 category, like 3rd through 5th, could totally flop around. Like just I'll have like some weird end screen table up hopefully at some point while I was speaking. And let me know what you think. If I don't know, yeah, I mean you can complain about your scores. I don't care. Like, you should. If you're top 10, you probably shouldn't complain. If you think so, if there's another team there you saw, you're like, oh, that team's scary, and then like you see me rank it like 17th or something. Let me know. Let me know what you think. I don't like care. Not in like an apathetic negative way. Like I'm chill. Like if you have like legitimate like you're crazy for this, or I should be lower. Like I'd love to hear it. It's fun to discuss this stuff. And then hopefully I'll have. I don't know if I'll do videos anymore. I'll definitely keep like the tables updated and try to follow along battles and all that, and be active in the league if I'm gonna do PRs. I think that's only fair. But thanks for watching. If you watched this whole thing, you're insane. If you skipped around, I don't even care. And if you enjoyed this, I don't know, Venmo me $3. Makes no sense. Thanks for watching. Love everyone in this league, even the ones I don't know, because they're participating in something fun. Bringing the community together. I think we got some good like established coaches, some good unknowns, and I think there are tons of opportunities for some crazy upsets, some total like black horse performances, and some fun battles. So that's it for now, and I'll see you never, baby.